Hello and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now, metals, especially precious metals, are often an alluring investment, especially if you're looking at the rising value of silver and gold. But what about sourcing? What happens when supply can't meet demand? Well, in the studio today, I have the CIO and founder of Commodity Capital, Tobias Tretter. Tobias, thank you very much for coming into the studio. Now, Tobias, your company deals with commodities, examples such as gold, silver, coal, for instance. The demand for metals at the moment is quite high. It could get higher. Are you concerned about future supply issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will have a big problem in the future that supply will not meet demand, especially in the copper sector. We have a really big problem because 16 mines are responsible for 40% of the total copper supply in the world. The top 10 copper producers are found between 1860 and 1969. So even though the copper price went up quite dramatically over the last 12 years, there was not one single new big mine found. So the big question will be, how can we find new big copper mines in the near future? Most of the big copper mines are depleting, so they are running out of ore. So we will have to replace them, and I think this will be a big problem for the near future.
Tobias, you mentioned copper there. I know that there is issues with the supply and demand, and that demand could be too great for the supply. But I'd like to look at platinum as well as copper, and I know that that is a very rare metal. I know that I think platinum amounts to only 6% of the total of the gold mining each year. What's the solution from your point of view, and what advice would you give perhaps traders and investors who are looking at those particular metals to invest in?
The platinum sector is really rare because 90% of the production of platinum is out of South Africa. And in South Africa we have really huge problems. So for example, the power supply is really a big issue there. The costs for power are increasing every single year now, 30%. And the mines are getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's getting more and more cost intense to get the metal out of the ground. So for traders it is a possibility to buy the metal, but it is really hard to buy any stocks or to find any other investment solutions.
Let's just have a little look at your business. If we look at Commodity Capital, obviously you're very much involved with the investment side. You manage a fund as well yourself. Can you just tell me a little bit about Commodity Capital's sort of strategy ahead in relation to these particular metals?
We are trying to benefit from the fact that the big mines are depleting, and the big mining companies, they have to replace the resources and reserves. They are producing every single day and the mines are depleting. So they have to do something, and they have to buy the new junior and exploration companies. They don't spend much on exploration. So for example, Barrick has an exploration budget from below 10 million. So they have to do something in that sector, and we would like to get involved with good management teams at a very early stage. And then we are trying to benefit from the fact that the big mining companies, they have to take over the successful junior exploration companies, and we would like to be involved in the successful junior exploration companies.
Now, Tobias, something I wanted to ask you anyway, because I wanted to see your opinion on this. When I was researching for this interview, I noticed that I was looking at the future supply, people's arguments or opinions on the future supply, particularly of metals in commodities. And one suggestion was to look into space and to look particularly at asteroids. Because I read some ridiculous statistic like our nearest asteroid has something like 30 billion tons of metal resources. And another additional statistic which was something like it was the equivalent of 80,000 Empire State Buildings you could build from it. Crazy figures, but is that something realistic from your point of view?
Really crazy figures. I think you are mentioning planetary resources. The company was in the news recently. It was founded by Larry Page, so one of the founders of Google, and by James Cameron, the movie maker of Avatar. And they are really trying to mine from asteroids. The problem with mining from asteroids is It will cost tens of billions, and it will take decades to develop the right technology to do it. The big question is, will you or do you have to send out people to mine it? Can you do it by machines? It will take many, many years to prove a technology. A good example for new mining methods is Nautilus. They are trying to mine from the sea, from the ocean. They haven't been successful so far. They are trying it now for 10 years, but it's really hard to invent new technologies and to get those metals out of the ground.
So it's basically science fiction, essentially.
It is.
For now, anyway.
It is for now.
Thank you. One last question, Tobias, we do is the Dukascopy question. I have a list on the screen here at the back. Basically, if you had $1 million right now out of these asset classes, which would you invest in?
For sure, gold.
It would have to be gold, wouldn't it?
It has to be gold, yes. Gold is money, and I would go for gold.
Tobias, thank you very much for coming into the studio today and joining us.
Thank you.
That's all we've got time for on Dukascopy TV here today. Stick with us though throughout the day for further updates and exclusive interviews. But for now, goodbye.